Hey there, McCaster Toast DIY at my desk, not the voiceover setup for the first time in a while. Call this on site, I guess. It's just something that I was working on in this video and wanted to talk to you all about blurring and different strategies you can use in editing. You may think that's a little weird because blur is pretty easy. I want you to watch the blur in the sequence and then I want to talk about it after. So, this was for an ad spot we had coming up, and the important thing was they needed us to go ahead and blur. There's an address on this box here, so let's take a peek at it. Boom. All right, nice and easy. So the question I'd have is I'm going to show it to you one more time. Let's pay attention to any blur in the frame. And the question I'd have for you is, did you notice the four boxes that also had a blur on it? And maybe you did, maybe you didn't. I'd be curious in the comments down below if you were distracted by watching the actual box here. But now that I've said something, I'm pretty sure you'll spot in the background where the blur is because it kind of moves around a little bit, goes off path. Specifically, this box here in the top left is pretty egregious on it. But we can notice that all those boxes in the back have been blurred with some sort of small box blur. And the reason that I want to show this and I didn't introduce it as, all these different blurs is because I think the trick to this is if you want to do kind of like a bootleg blur and you don't want to use Adobe After Effects to like actually click the thing and replace it and remove it. If it's on a hand cam shot like that, there's a lot you can do to hide it, but I just want to show you some strategies you can do. So by taking the sequence, we can look at some of the stuff done inside in order to cause this. So the first thing I did was we went ahead and I wanted to zoom in at first because we can avoid blurring altogether. That's what I'd like to do. But the problem is the way Matt's moving, he's moving across the frame and then he's kind of bringing the attention to the bottom right of the frame, which means that you can't really crop in without making a weird camera move that I'm not sure how to make that look nice. So the option is just to try to blur everything. Well, if you just blur, for instance, one of those boxes, it'll be pretty easy to still see there's something on it. So what I do to get around that, for instance, is like, let's say I take these three here, I remove those, and we play that sequence out again, right? Here's the blur. The problem is those are still very much Amazon boxes. So like you might say to yourself, well, if I have to make the blur look horrible, what's the point? We may just need to redo the shot. Let's say you can't redo the shot. Well, if you take those layers away, what I've done is underneath I've placed boxes roughly the color of the boxes themselves. So little squares that I've placed over top. And what happens is when you have a square like that and then you apply a blur, and make sure you kind of mess with the edge feather, you can get a pretty close to matching look. The only thing better than this is when you can take something that's like a stable shot, you can almost do an actual replacement effect. This computer has a logo on it, and you probably can guess generally where, but once I show you this, you'll see that it slowly zooms in and then bloop, that's where the logo is. It could maybe fade in if you want it to look like it arrives on the device. However you want to do it. There's different ways to do that reveal effect. But the way we did this one was by just taking a mask of the area just to the left right here. This is like using the stamp tool if you've ever used it in Photoshop. It allows you to just take an area and drag it over, and then all you do is mess with the feather until you have what you think is the most matching you can get. So once you feather that up and you feel like that's good, then boom, you can do your little effect. It's pretty cool. You can, depending on the like wipe you use to make it go away, it can have a different feel to it. Burned to chroma might look cool. Who knows which one would look the most neat, but you can do some fun effects, especially if you wanted to like instead have it like be the logo itself burn in. You could try some different stuff. It's pretty fun. So this is just a bootleg way to get the replace like a t-shirt design, but as long as it's on a product or something that's still, I wouldn't recommend this for any sort of like add an image. It's only really for removal. If you wanted to add an image, I think it'd be really obvious that it's there. The point of keeping this blur very obvious, the one in the front on the box, is because on the box itself, if I have the blur, then if it's obvious when his hand moves in front of it, it's not the most annoying, but it draws your eye. I also added the zoom after doing all the box stuff, so that would be even less noticeable because it just lasts long enough for us to follow the fragile sticker to the box. And I always use this idea that if you really want something to be noticeable, If it's not going to be in frame, you have two options for blurring. One is this, and the other is the mosaic. So one is Gaussian blur, which is what I've used for all these. The other is mosaic, but I don't use mosaic very often unless I want the audience to know I am purposely blurring something. Like, I think it's useful for when you're doing a video and you see someone's license plate or you see someone's face that doesn't want to be in the video. I think this is the most appropriate way to blur them. One, because it's very good. Two, it also lets the audience know I didn't want you to see them. And I think that's kind of them to know. Like, it sets a good moral precedent where it's like, oh, these guys are polite. They know if someone doesn't want to be filmed, they should remove them entirely from the video. Gaussian Blur does a great job, but I think it's like less obfuscating than Mosaic. So I think Mosaic's the better way to really show that you don't want this person to be seen and to be kind. If you do the other one, it still works. I just think it's difference of message you're sending. I mean, it's the difference between having a shot like this, zooming in versus zooming out. I'm sure there's psychology behind how you look at it. Or if we wanted this shot to be like this, there's small things that are just kind of inferred by the viewer by the nature of how you edit. And so if you're looking for a cheap, easy way to take something and remove, different stuff, so you want to remove the logo from this and reveal it, you could scale it up, copy it over, just take a big ol' chunk next to it. So what I do is I take around where it's at, boom, boom, boom. Cool. We got that. We drag it over here. So now our mask is here, and we drag that mask whoop, to the right. And now we have a feather to add. If it ever gets too small, we just do expansion. And look at that. For the sake of doing this little reveal, we could color correct it a little bit if we wanted to. But for the sake of this reveal, I think it's pretty good. You'd be able to take this and be like, it also has, and add a crossfade to it. Shorten it out. This thing also has boop, GTX or whatever on there. But you'd want to track this to match. Obviously, you need it to move up with it, which is not hard to do. You would just make a position keyframe, super simple position, and we remove this fade in. Set our keyframe here. Go right about to the end. Probably remove the blur for now, or the fade for now. Yeah, probably set it here and then add the fade. So now it'd be more like doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Ah, you could do more to make that look nice, but that's just I describe it as bootleg way to do the find and replace or the find and hide, especially if it's in the background. You can get away with that. So, you ever had a video where you've had a sponsor or something that you just don't want to be in there because it takes away, draw their attention somewhere else via just how you have them, looking up here and then draw their attention. The two places they're going to look are going to be at Matt, at the sticker, maybe at this box. If they see this box, they might think, haha, I see the blur. I know he had to hide that. That's funny. I'm a quirky guy who sees the editing. And then they probably miss all these ones in the back. So just a fun little tip. I thought it's neat. I thought about this a while ago on how to better hide things, and I was pretty proud of it because I don't like having to leave Premiere Pro if I don't have to. That being said, this sequence, as much as I'll brag about it, took 45 minutes to put together. So remember, it does take time. There's no real easy fix that I know of yet. And once I do find it, you'll be the first to know. Thank you all for watching. Peace.